morning, everyone. Welcome to Light on Suitability. And a number of things are taking place throughout the judicial system, within the penal system and in the prisons. And we want to shed some light on the fact that denials for parole are increasing. We also know that the political climate is changing, but we really want to focus on the fact that if you do the smallest thing inside a prison, you can be denied parole. Likewise,
5 years.
5 years. Likewise, the smallest things outside of prison can prevent you from completing your parole and getting off parole, and it can possibly lead you back to somewhere that you don't want to go. So I think this is real important. Elizabeth had a number of hearings this week. Elizabeth, will you talk a little bit about that? And then we'll go from there, please.
Yeah, so I was assigned 13 clients. For a variety of reasons, 10 of those clients elected to have their hearings after, full discussion with me and so on. That's pretty standard. A variety of different levels of yards. Okay, so different levels of programming. And let's exclude, of course, the ones that are EPRD. They're getting out in 2024, whatever it is, and they're just going to take a swing at it. So we'll put a couple of those to the side.
Explain to the people what EPRD is, please.
Sorry about that. A determinate sentence. So they're determinately sentenced. The youthful offender laws came in and said, instead of serving 27 years, you're going to serve 15, or you're only going to serve 20, or yeah, that's probably about right. So you're going to get in an earlier situation. And so we'll skip those, because those clients always just say, I'm just going to roll the dice. I might as well. And that's fine.
Right.
Most of the time they're not suitable anyway, because they learned late, or they got with the program late, because, we're procrastinators as human beings. We like to procrastinate, but and I'll put aside as well the ones that don't have disciplines within 5 to 7 years of their hearing, but just don't have the insight or the work. So recent self-help, again, is coming back as a basis to deny parole. So recent and not sufficient self-help to address risk factors. And risk factors has become another one of these big topics. And the reason I've hit so hard on the relapse prevention planning as well, the last several podcasts we've had, we've really hit that a lot, because the commissioners are asking and focusing a lot on risk factors, not so much on the life crime right now. That's still important, because it does tie to insight and self-awareness is what they call that now. But as far as the rest of my guys, the biggest problem right now is disciplines. So there was a time when things kind of got loose and lenient. And so if you had a discipline within, maybe a minor discipline within, say, a year and a half, you could still get paroled. A major discipline, let's say like a cell phone, not necessarily a fight, but maybe a cell phone, depending on the commissioner, maybe something like a disobeying an order, stuff along that nature. You could get out, you could get a grant if you were really rock solid, hadn't had a long history of disciplines, was just kind of a one-off or some other stuff. You could get grants of parole. So now, about a year ago, I started hearing this 3 to 5 year clean mantra. I thought, okay,
Right.
it's the bar is shifted a little. Okay. Note to self, 3 years clean. So you tell them 3 years clean, probably 5 years clean from a fight. But even if a fight was there, you could probably do 3 years if it was a one-off, you had a kind of a rocky relationship, or you had just left the gang or something like that. You might be able to see the grants. This last week, the last couple of weeks of hearings that I've had, I've been really noticing this 5-year benchmark now. And so, and that's 5 years. They're treating minor and major very similarly, maybe 3 years from a window covering, but definitely 5 years from a disobeying an order, possession of weapon stock, or
Even a
contraband.
128 chrono?
So minor is a 128. We don't call them that anymore. They call
Right.
them RVRs. So that the new terminology is RVRs. And
Right.
so RVRs are RVRs, and they just get classified as serious, administrative, or counseling. And they're all
Right.
written up on an RVR form.
Yes.
And so RVRs, and I classify minor versus major now, or minor versus serious. The even a counseling is one beneath an admin, and then you might have a verbal write-up, which I verbally said such and such to so-and-so, and then that's literally on a chronoform. But again, that's a big topic. Dismissed 115s. We don't call them 115s anymore, but we still do. So dismissed rules violations, if they see it in there, you know, they're really not supposed to talk about it, but let's say you get dismissed over a technicality. I think I understand why it's fair game for the commissioners because it's conduct, but again, I am seeing 3 years clean needed from the minor stuff versus maybe a one year clean from the minor stuff, and 5 years from major discipline. So we're talking cell phones. So anytime a family member thinks it's a good idea to send some money in because they just want to talk to their loved one, all right, but you're going to be costing them, that will cost not only the $1,000, but possibly a 5-year denial. And that is a new trend. And my friend said she'd noticed it too. And the grant rate is, it might just be my lot of clients because I've had Pelican Bays, I've had Calipatria, I have SAT-Fs, I have Pleasant Valley. Those are level 4s, level 3s. So
Yeah, you got all the rough prisons.
so, you know, but even my friend, she's at some other ones, Mule Creek and some others that are not that bad, level 2s and things like that. And even the Avenals, even without discipline, they really want rock solid understanding of your crime, victim impact, and relapse prevention planning, like I said. So I think the grants, they're requiring a lot more from grants, as you know, during the heyday, we'll call it, because there was kind of a heyday of grants there for a while. That would just, you know, if you were even 2 years clean and decent insight, you're done, you're out. A couple of transitional housing letters can speak a little bit about the character defects and the 12 steps, you were out. But I'm finding as well, and I'm kind of talking a lot, I'm sorry, but I'm finding a lot too that my clients are just, they're not prepared and they don't know how to internalize the material. They know how to memorize, but they don't know how to internalize, and that comes through. And another problem that's popping up again is this impression management thing, you know, memorizing scripts, memorizing answers to questions, telling the panel what they think they need to hear when they're sitting here with the confidential information all right there, saying all kinds of weird stuff that doesn't match the information that they have. And so then you have impression management, which is a nice word for, is a euphemism for lying, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Minimizing, justifying, rationalizing. So a lack of self-help has been a problem in the last 2 years. And that's just, we know that. But then there's this whole thing about, well, that the self-help was all closed down. Okay, but it wasn't closed down for the last 20 years.
And the
So,
mail was still running. And the mail was still running.
yeah, yeah. And even if they did know, like they skipped 3 years ago, and they were told about correspondence classes, but didn't do it, just say, well, I put my name on the list, and then they shut everything down. And so that's it. I didn't do anything.
No, no good. That's a no bueno.
So you guys take it away.
I want to, I guess, do this from the reverse, and I know Sean will pick it up, and then we'll flow. The importance of, like you say, the minor, the major. Now that it's called RVR, rules violation reports, whether it's a minor or a major, it still looks like you're breaking the rules, and that's the reality. I'm gonna use myself as an example because one of the listeners said, "You went to the board 8 times, and you must have just been like out of control." And I told him for a large part of my time I was. However, I received a rules violation report one time for having in a paper bag, I was working in the dining hall, an egg, 2 slices of bread, and a banana that the kitchen officer allowed me to take out. But when I got to the building and they searched us, the officer wrote me up for having possession of contraband because it's not allowed. And I know that I wasn't supposed to take food out. So I went to the board thinking it was nothing, just it was called a 128 then, a verbal counseling crime. And the board brought it up. I said, it was just 2 slices of bread, a boiled egg and a banana. He said, were you not aware that you were not supposed to take it out? I said, yes. However, the officer let me take it out. He said, if you knew you were wrong, you violated the rules. And that snowball effect took place. You know, I wasn't, I didn't know how to shut up.
And you involved the officer in your criminal activity.
Absolutely.
And you blame the officer. So there you go.
Absolutely.
Done.
Absolutely. And I got denied for freedom as a result of that. And I just want to bring light to our listeners, whether you are incarcerated, not incarcerated, a family or a friend. Tell the people, if you know you're doing something wrong, wrong is wrong. Regardless if someone said, oh, it's okay, I'm gonna turn a blind eye to it because he wants you to work extra hard for him tomorrow, because that's that slave mentality. You know, the slave driver will tell you, hey, I'm gonna close my eyes so tomorrow you work double hard because you think you're cool. You'll never be cool. But if you're breaking the rules and they catch you, they're gonna treat you like you just committed your crime all over again, because in their mind, you're still a criminal. And in their mind, I was still a criminal because I just took the lesser course in my criminality. So that's, and this increases. Now it would be a 5-year denial in contrast to the 3-year that I got, because they would say, well, you've been in prison so long, why are you still committing crimes? Which means if we let you out, you're going to do a little crime. And we know that little crimes became big crimes. And big crimes became gigantic crimes that lead us to prison forever. So it's a mindset on both sides that really needs to be understood. Sean, would you like to share anything?
That's interesting. I was listening to Elizabeth and you. So to tap in what you were saying, that
say, bro, I gotta stop for a second. Man, that shirt is fly, man. I like that shirt. Yeah. All right, go ahead, bro. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Thank you, brother. Like, just like you said, when the officer told you can bring it out of the kitchen, because I understand that, you know, he lets some of his workers or she lets some of the workers take certain things out, right? And so it's against the rules. And like you said, even if you're on the streets, right? And so I just want to bring up like an example, as in weed is legal, right? But as a lifer parolee, weed is not legal for you. You cannot have marijuana in your possession, smoking, none of that. It's totally different from regular parole, because, you know, I got family members and friends that's on parole, but nobody's on a lifer parole like me. They can smoke weed, right? Because it's legal. They ain't tripping. But lifer parole, understand that things are a lot different for us. Like, we have stipulations that normal parolees don't have. And so you got to pay attention to that. And so, no, you don't want to have no weed. You don't want, just because something might be legal out here, you definitely have to follow what the commissioners gave you to do. Because if you do not, you will go back to prison. Elizabeth was talking about,
Can I chime in on this? And
yes,
then please hold your thought, because I have to say this. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about my situation where I'm working, sometimes working too much. I don't have time for a whole lot of things, staying out of the way, no infractions with the law. But because I didn't complete the program, the classes at the transitional house that I'm in, as we all know, I got extended. So I can't even go home and be with my family because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. So I'm being punished. But it's on me. And I just want to say this, like you were just saying, to a lot of people, it means no, oh, it's just a class. You'll be okay. Okay, you'll be okay. But no, the commissioners gave me guidelines. It was an agreement with my parole agent that I'm gonna participate in these classes so I can show them that I can manage my time, I'm responsible, and I'm willing to do whatever's necessary to be a legal citizen. And as a consequence of that, I'm in jeopardy right now being violated parole. And Elizabeth, we just talked about this, and people don't believe that I can go back to prison if I don't do classes.
you can't. You disobeying a direct order.
Absolutely. I mean, and as a matter of fact, after the podcast, I have to go do some makeup classes. But this is so important, and because it's small to everyone else, but for a life of parole, this is big. And I mean, really big. And I don't want to go back to prison because I chose to work or I chose to go be with a family member and I'm missing my classes.
Right. And it shows, it's being responsible. And so it's up to us to make sure that we manage our time right. Not Elizabeth, not the board, not our family. It's up to us. We got to manage our time right to get our class. Same way when we were in prison. We were busy. Me and you were busy all the
We worked
time.
every day.
But we didn't miss our class. We didn't miss our groups because we were the facilitators of the group. So we had to be there. And so it's the same thing on the streets. You know what I mean? And the streets is a little different. So I just want to let everybody know it's not the same as it being inside. On the streets, a lot of things is coming your way, right? And you can get caught up in being busy with family, job, your household, whatever it is, right? And miss some things. And so that's important that we pay attention. And so one of the things I'm learning to do is I learned how to manage my time in prison, right? To me, that was really simple because there was a set schedule in prison. At this time, they ran child. At this time, they ran yard. At this time, so it was already easy to, okay, in between here, I would do this and do this. In between here, I'm gonna do this and do this. Out here, everything is open, it's flowing. We're on a bigger yard. And so I'm definitely learning how to manage my time more appropriately out on the streets than I did in prison. Because when I first got out, I was doing my stuff, working and everything, but I was missing a lot of things I wasn't getting done that I wanted to get done. And so you definitely have to pay attention on how you manage your time out here. Just like me enrolled in college, right? And so I missed an assignment and I feel bad about it, but I realized I might have too much on my plate and just need to put on, go to the next semester with my college, or I just might need to cut some things off, trim the bush, and still do my college work. Don't make no excuses and do what I need to do. So, yeah. One thing, Elizabeth, you was talking about the rule violations being denied 5 years. Well, I was one of them individuals. I got a 5-year denial for a write-up that was written originally as a 115. Daryl was there. He knows everything about it. Originally as a 115.
The window cover.
For blocking, tinting. It was for tinting.
Yes.
It was for tinting. And so to make a long story short, they kicked it back, saying that it shouldn't be written up as a 115 because they said they used the verbal language as in for tinting behavior that can lead to violence.
Absolutely.
Now, that language right there, I knew was bad for me. I knew it because of my past. When you say your past will come back to haunt your ass, yes, it came back to haunt me because that verbal language changed the whole ball game and everything, right? So I 602'd it. I won. It was dropped to a 128 chrono, a verbal. I 602'd that because the officer said that he warned me on a certain date. He never did that. He forged his signature in a book that they have inside right? And so we called him on that. So everything was removed. But what wasn't removed was the 602. And so to make a long story short, I got a
602 is an appeal. So people know.
602 of the appeal. And so though that the commissioners, I just want everybody to know this. Listen to me. Listen to me. It says it right there, right? The commissioners read it. I beat it. It says it talks about the officer, everything. So the commissioners asked me, Mr. Conley, explain it to him. I explained it to him. And so my 5-year denial was, even though I was right, and this one I was right. That was my, what do you call it? My right to 602, right? Something that that was done to me, right? And I won. Man, listen to me, I won. They denied me 5 years for blaming the officer, not accepting responsibility, right? So I just want you to know that no matter what, and so now that Elizabeth is talking about that they're denying on every little thing, and so I explained that to the board, but they didn't want to hear that. They didn't want to hear it, and I beat it. The captain removed everything. I had the lieutenants on my side, everything. Right? This officer was reprimanded. He was removed out of our building. He did not no longer work first watch anymore. Right? I don't know how he was reprimanded because that's not inmate privilege to know that. But he definitely was removed out of the building. And so it doesn't matter. Listen, you gotta keep your nose clean, period. Even if you in the right, some commissioners don't want to hear that because they feel like that if you're being watched, supervised 24 hours around the clock in prison, this is one of the things I paid attention to that the commissioner was telling me when he gave me my 5-year denial. He said, Mr. Conley, he said, if you're getting write-ups in prison where you're being supervised 24 hours around the clock, I can't imagine what you would do if you were free and you're not being supervised at all.
And that was enough right there. And that was enough. He didn't have to say anything else.
At all.
Because even if you was not tenant, and I remember the scenario that didn't take place, it still made you reflect on other things.
Exactly.
And
that's what it did.
Yes.
That's what it did. I said, I might be innocent of this, but there's other things that I wasn't innocent of. And so it made me think, okay, all right, I got that, right? And so we just got to make sure that we understand what the commissioner's saying, because out here, we're free, literally. My parole agent comes and sees me every month and a half. And I'm a lifer. Every month and a half, my parole agent comes see me. Other lifers, I see them getting checked on at least two times a month.
And my parole agent I see every week.
Yeah, that part.
And I see 2 parole agents every week.
See?
And and it's a difference from, and this is like I like when we come together like this because it's important, because when I go back here, Southern California, Los Angeles, where it's high rate of gang, high rate of violence, high rate of crime, they in the length of time that I was incarcerated, they say, well, we got to watch you a little closer, or if I say, hey, parole agent, will you allow me to spend a weekend away? Parole agent say, I don't know you like that.
Yeah.
I said, well, I've been out 6 months clean. They say the 6 months clean that you've had in comparison to the 30+ years you were in prison, this not proving me nothing. We talk about this in a couple months, and I'm gonna shut up. But does would my family understand that? Of course not. But when you
Nope.
really look at it in totality, the parole agent was like, I don't know you like that to say it's okay to be somewhere where I don't want you to be. So you be in that transitional house and you do that program, you go to work and you come back, or you call
Yes,
me.
indeed. Yes,
and
indeed.
and that's what I'm gonna do.
Yes,
Whether they
indeed.
like it or not. That's what I'm
Whether
gonna
you
do.
like it or not. And that's amazing, because out here in Sacramento, you know, they allow me, and even when I was in Modesto, like, they really wasn't. And that's because I came out hitting the streets running, right? I was at the school 2 days after I got out doing things, but I had some parole agents who was like, okay, I was like, okay, can I get permission to go into Valley State Prison to facilitate? We're working with Legacy Alliance. He was like, no. He was like, why? Why you want to go in there? I was like, well, I want to get back. He was like, yeah, well, why you don't want to wait till you get off parole? I was like, well, people need help now. Why would I want to wait till I get off parole? Right? He's like, yeah, I don't know. I had to talk to my supervisor about it. I said, well, don't worry about it. I'll talk to my supervisor, and my supervisor will call your supervisor. And we'll be
Absolutely.
okay. But I had to accept that's how he felt. My other parole agents didn't feel like that. And so we just got to be mindful of that, man, that, you know, these denials is serious.
If you want to
Stay
get
out the way. Matter
if
of
you can
fact, I
get
was
out
just
there,
talking to somebody where we just left at Sad
yes,
F Corcoran, to where now they got the cameras. Remember, they put the cameras up as we was going out?
everywhere.
So they're on staff and they're in the building. So you got some guys getting into a fight, got away with it. A week later, some other guys got into it. They went back, looked at the camera, came back and wrote them a 115, even though it was a week later.
Not only that, I need to say this in Elizabeth, because you know they have the cameras being in. They're putting cameras up in a lot of prisons. And I want the people to understand this, because this is something that was big. The officers wear body cams now. There's approximately 6 to 8 cameras in every section of the building. If a fight ensues and they see you standing there watching that fight, they're going to say that you were a participant in that fight because you didn't try to stop it, and God forbid they want you to go and tell. And I know the culture, we don't do that, but this is what they want. Why didn't you say something? Because someone could have been injured, someone could have been hurt. Because in society, you have to be pro-social, so that if you see someone being hurt, you call 911 or you help them. So they're saying you're not ready to go home because you watched the fight and then just turned around and went to your bed as if nothing happened. This is big. Or the stabbing, or the drug transaction, or the passing of alcohol, whatever it be. Those cameras are catching everything.
Everything.
So we want to encourage the people. We want to encourage them, do the right thing. We want families, encourage your loved ones, stay clear and away from anything that could keep them in prison if they value their life.
But I understand that. Me sitting there watch a fight go down, right? And then to be able to just walk away, because you know, we know what happens in a fight. You know, your head get busted open, your face, whatever, right? To be able to just walk away and go to your bed like nothing ever happened.
That's a callous person. That's a cold-blooded person.
Yeah.
And society doesn't want a callous, cold-blooded person returning to them.
Because you'll do the same thing on the streets. You'll see a
Yes.
murder happen, you'll see whatever happen, and then you just get in your car or go into the store or whatever and not do anything, call nobody or do nothing. That's dangerous. That scares me. And that's how we were, because it was normal. Before we got to prison and in prison, it was a normal thing. We seen dead bodies, we seen people getting shot. Okay, what's the big deal? But that's being callous, that's being cold. That's that wall being built around us so we can survive in the world that we was in. But if you want to make it out here in the streets, I'm telling the people, like me and Daryl said, you have to, even in prison, because we had to start in prison. Don't get it wrong. You can't get out and then start out here, right, to try not to be callous. It's not going to work.
And if you don't want to go, and if you don't want to be the guys who go check in and inform the people of something that's happening, stay away from what's happening. And that's it.
That's all you got to do. And that's what we did, right? Because I understand that, and the board doesn't understand, but if you tell, your life is in danger. Because we worked in the program office. We knew everybody that was telling. But we were so changed that We didn't put it out there like that because that wasn't our business. Our business was us focusing on us, right? And going home, not going out there spreading it out on the yard so somebody can hear. That's criminal activity.
Absolutely.
That's criminal activity, right? And so stay away from everything. If you don't want to be a participant of that, go to your groups, go to work, do what you're supposed to do, go do your workout, whatever you're doing. You see something going on, because you'll know it, you can feel it. The yard changes, right? If you can't feel it, you ain't paying attention. For real. And just go about your way so that way you don't get involved and put yourself in a bad situation.
Elizabeth, would you like to share more?
No, I think that's pretty good. Wrap it up for you guys. Get Daryl to his classes and Sean to his birthday party.
Well, I'm going to church right now. I'm going to the synagogue. So
okay.
Right now it started at 10, but I'll pull up a little late. So next week I want to talk about, Elizabeth, you was talking about how your clients are coming, right? And they're not being prepared. So I think we need to, sometimes we're gonna need to dive in to stuff that we already talked about on the podcast. Sometimes we got to go back, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 times to remind them, hey, don't stop going into the board trying to memorize Daryl's relapse prevention plan. It's not going to work. You're not going to fool the commissioners. Trust me, I know. You're not going to fool them. I swear to you. I swear to you. Listen, family members, people that's listening, tell your loved ones, the ones that's incarcerated, if you do the work on yourself, it is less work than trying to remember someone else's stuff. And you don't have to memorize nothing. Sitting in your cell or in the pod trying to memorize all this paperwork, right? That don't fit you. Let's be clear about this. It don't fit you. It might have some resemblance of you, but if I start questioning, I'm not a commissioner. If I start questioning off the bat, within a few words, I can tell if you lying or if that's really you. Right? And so we need to talk about that.
Yes. So I made as a highlight: victims impact, insight, relapse prevention plan, and self-help or self-awareness. So Elizabeth, we do need to reiterate and bring light again, because this is what we're about anyway, trying to help people go through the navigational system of getting released and staying released. So most definitely we'll highlight those in the upcoming weeks. I think we did real good today. And I'm looking forward to next week. You got to get where you have to go. I definitely got to get down here to do these classes.
It's all good. Excellent.
Yes.
Good luck to everybody. Thank you for listening, tuning into our show, and we'll see you next week.
That's right.
Have a good week.
Everybody, thank you very much.